Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Chrissy Mayer podcast. I'm starting this one a little bit different than I usually do. I normally start with my Silk City ad, my Blue Chew ad, all that, but this show's starting out a little bit differently today because there's some hot news, and this is what happens when I try to cover hot news. Things get a little clunky. So basically what happens, what you'll see in a few minutes is my interview with Neil McCabe, who is the communication director for Project Veritas. He used to work at the White House. He used to work for One American News. He's like, this guy is the real deal. And I had no idea how busy Project Veritas was. I know that recently this news broke that they were basically looking into election fraud, and they were investigating a bunch of, ballot harvesting happening in Minneapolis. And this story broke just a few days ago, just earlier this week. So I was like, I got to get an interview with these guys. I love Project Veritas. I've done episodes with them in the past with Zach Voorhees. He was the whistleblower for Facebook. I talked to him. That episode is still available. You can go check it out. And we talked about how the Facebook content moderators are extremely biased towards conservatives, Republicans, even anybody really in the middle who was for Trump. And then recently I had an episode with Zach Voorhees, and he was the Google whistleblower, and kind of same thing, media suppression, management of information, everything's fucked. No, everything's not fucked, guys. We're just trying to find out the truth. So love Project Veritas. I was so happy to do an interview with anybody from there, whether it was James O'Keefe or Neil. I was happy to have any time that he could spare. And as you'll see, guys, it's the interview starts, he's in a car, like they're on their way. It looks like a stakeout, it looks like they're trying to it's pretty cool, the work that they do, but they were like in the midst of, I think, tracking somebody down. It looked pretty cool. He was like, I can't talk about it. You'll see. They're clearly in the middle of some shit. And so I didn't have as much time with Neil as I would have liked. Normally we'll do like a full hour episode and a full chat, but these guys are in the middle of it like right now. James O'Keefe may or may not have people coming after him. I don't know. He broke some pretty intense news. I think these guys look into election mismanagement every 2 years, which Neil explains. And it's interesting what happened to Project Veritas, because they're a nonprofit. They're kind of local to me. I live in Westchester. Their office is pretty close by. So I have a decent relationship with these guys. So it was good to talk to Neil. His insights are really good, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I did not get a ton of time with him because they're in the middle of kind of this breaking news story. And what I've noticed is interesting, because this story broke much earlier this week. And, if you Google Project Veritas now, I'm so sorry if my words are slurred. Like, I just recorded Never Have I Ever, which comes out on Saturday, but it's a drinking game. So I've had 2 glasses of wine. So I wholly apologize if this is this might be slurrier than I would have liked. Sorry if anybody's listening to this in the morning, they're thinking I have a problem. It's fine. I've got it under control. So it's interesting. If you Google Project Veritas right now, they're very much being painted as a right-wing group, which they're not. They're very much just interested in finding the truth. The New York Times just put out an article saying that that the Project Veritas video was a coordinated disinformation campaign. The New Republic put out an article that the title was "The Cozy Relationship Between Project Veritas and the Proud Boys." It's like the mainstream media is firing on all cylinders. They're just doing everything they can, I think, to make Project Veritas look bad and take away any kind of basically influence. And as Neil will say, they're not refuting the claims. They're just trying to make Project Veritas look as unqualified of a source as possible. And you'll see in this interview with Neil McCabe, I wish I had known how little time I really had with him because I would have handled it so much differently. Like and I thought, okay, less than an hour. I thought I had between 30 and 45 minutes. Had I known that he really would have had to cut and run, I wouldn't have done my ad reads like while this guy is sitting in the car, like waiting to fucking, I don't know, possibly bust somebody. They're in the middle of something. I don't know what they're doing. It was all very serious and very shrouded in mystery, which is fine. I don't need to know. But like, if I had known that I didn't have that much time with Neil, I certainly wouldn't have read my Blue Chew ad to him. You know what I mean? And I like to banter with guests like, hey, do you like hot sauce? Do you take Blue Chew? Because this episode is sponsored by both Silk City Hot Sauce and Blue Chew. And he's like this serious business guy, you know, and I'm like, Neil, you want me to send you some Blue Chew? So now looking back, I realize kind of how funny that was, because this guy's like serious as could be. And I'm just, you know, reading an ad about a pill that's going to get his dick hard. And I'm not saying that just because he's a serious guy, he doesn't need to have his dick hard when he wants. But like, I probably could have used the time a little bit better. I could have been probably asking him smart questions. So this was a good learning experience for me, because now I know in the future when I have somebody who's kind of a high-ranking dude or gal with limited time, I will do the reads separately and then just like cut to the meat of it when I'm with them. But so anyway, guys, I wanted to say, like, yeah, I wanted to give you guys a clue of what was going to happen with this episode, because it's like, it's shorter than normal, and I didn't want you guys to feel gypped, and I didn't want you guys to feel like, well, what the fuck, this is shitty, why isn't there enough time, what's going on? Because this story is like kind of still developing, it's in flux, things are happening. It's some pretty big news, and you can tell how big of a news story it is just by seeing how hard the mainstream media is coming after Project Veritas for this. They love to shit on James O'Keefe. They love to shit on, they're calling Veritas like a journalism cosplay, when to me, they're doing the real work. Like, they're doing the work that our mainstream media journalists should be doing by like getting people on the inside, willing to wear secret cameras. So I like these guys, you know. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't know all there is to know about politics, life, whatever. But I feel like these guys are telling the truth, and their heart's in the right place, and they want to do good work. So I believe them. I don't think they're full of shit. I don't think that they're a right-wing group. I don't think that they're cozy with the Proud Boys. So guys, like, listen for yourselves. I tried to go over to Project Veritas today, actually, after this little interview cut out, to try to like get somebody else to talk to, but they were so busy. So I didn't want to intrude. But yeah, these guys are great, and I want them to keep doing what they're doing. They're doing really brave work, and hopefully I'll get to follow up with Neil or James or somebody else from the squad. It'll be cool to see what happens. Yeah. I want to hear what you guys think. Give me your feedback, send me your messages, tell me, you know, who you think you'd like me to speak more to or follow up with. So yeah, this is my little interview with Neil McCabe. Neil McCabe, God, I really shouldn't have had that wine. Apologize so much to you. I love you guys so much. This is my interview with Neil McCabe, communications director for Project Veritas. Enjoy. Welcome to another episode of the Chrissy Mayer podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. I will be reading the best reviews every week, so long as they are 5 stars. And you know what I want to give 5 stars to is Silk City Hot Sauce. Go to silkcityhotsauce.com right now. Use the promo code CMP to get 15% off your whole order. These guys love you so much. They're also going to throw in a free bottle of cherry sriracha and some cool stickers. These guys are great. Neil, are you much of a hot sauce guy?
My idea of hot sauce is brown gravy.
Oh, okay. Small town values. But you know what? If you want to spice up your life, go to Silk City Hot Sauce now. If you're looking for hot, you found it. Go to Silk City Hot Sauce. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 15% off your whole order. If you don't know where to start, I really like the Taco Fiesta and all all their stuff is good on like egg. I'm really into hot sauce on eggs. Sorry. You know what else I'm into? Blue Chew. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about something we all need more of, Neil. Great sex! Fellas, you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Go to BlueChew.com. That's blue like the color blue. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. Take them any time of day or night, whenever, even on a full stomach, so you can be ready for whenever an opportunity arises. Ladies, you can get on this too and get some for your man. Blue Chew is made in the USA. Did you know that, Neil? It's made here in the USA.
That's fantastic.
It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to wait in line. It's cheaper than a pharmacy. They prepare it and ship it right to you in a discreet package. No awkwardness, and you don't have to leave your home. If you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Right now, we have a special deal for you. Visit BlueChew.com. Get your first shipment free. All you have to do is use the promo code CMP. You'll just pay $5 in shipping. Again, that's Blue, BLUE, Chew.com. Use the promo code CMP. And on a serious note, so excited to have this guy here. This is a pretty hot topic right now. He is the communications director for Project Veritas. Prior to that, he was a reporter for the White House. He worked for One American News, several other outlets. Here with us today from Project Veritas is Neil McCabe. How are you?
Phenomenal. I apologize for all this movement, but I cannot tell you what is going on, but we are on the move right now. And
Ooh.
we're kind of on and off. So we'll just keep going, but I've said too much already. But
BlueChew.com. Just when you don't know what to say, we'll talk about Blue Chew.
yeah, exactly. But it's great to be on CMP, and really happy to always talk about what Project Veritas is doing. Every 2 years, Project Veritas and Project Veritas investigators and journalists make a special focus on election fraud and voter fraud. And so we send our investigators out across the country to check out different races and situations and follow different leads. A few months ago, we started getting traction about what was going on in the Somali American community in Minneapolis, centered on Ward 6 of Minneapolis, which is really the heart of that Somali American community and the political base for Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. And so we had basically undercover journalists. We had undercover journalists who interviewed ballot harvesters. We have undercover video of a cash transaction, cash for ballot registration. And we also had people in the community who are willing to wear hidden cameras themselves. The Somali Americans came here because they wanted democracy, and they aren't getting democracy. They escaped the warlords, and they basically traded their warlords for their ballot harvesters. And so we really got the cooperation from the Somali American community to expose what's going on there, Christy. And that's sort of like the good news part of the story.
So ballot harvesting and this type of fraud is not a new thing. This has been going on years back, and this 2020 is not the first time we've seen, because probably for a lot of people, that video that you guys put up of the man wearing the hidden camera, and he's in a van and he's in a car full of ballots.
Hold on, let me just tell you this. That is actually not a Project Veritas video. That's his own Snapchat that he posted on his profile, right? So, I don't know, a lot of people like myself, we read the Federalist Papers. We took political science in college. Never once did I read that James Madison said, hopefully, when we build this country, America, we'll have a time when somebody can drive around Minneapolis wrapping about 300 absentee ballots in his car, right? It just seems, at odds with what we were taught. And so ballot harvesting, in some places, it's legal, right? In California, it's legal, and that's how the Democrats were able to flip 6 or 7 House seats in the 2018 midterms. In other places, it's illegal. In Minnesota, ballot harvesting you are restricted to 3 ballots. You can collect 3 ballots for other people and deliver them to the polling station. So when he said he had 300 absentee ballots in his car, he was 100 times the legal limit.
Wow. And so just explain, so people who aren't sure, because there's a difference between absentee ballots and mail-in ballots. And I think people are conflating the two.
Yeah, it's absolutely a case of conflation. An absentee ballot is when someone is deployed with the military overseas, or because of travel or whatever circumstances, they have an excused absence from voting on election day. They go to their city or town clerk, they explain the situation, or they write a letter, or they go through the military, spends a lot of effort to make sure absentee ballots from the guys deployed in Iraq, Afghanistan, or all the ships at sea. Those absentee ballots have a chain of custody. They have security envelopes. There are signatures. What we see now is just the wholesale collection of mail-in ballots. In some states, it's more regulated than others, but certainly it's a thing that's out of control. And when you mail out, when every registered voter in a state is mailed out a ballot, well, who knows what happens to those ballots, right? It's
Right.
like, it's just like, and people could conceivably, people can collect these ballots, just like you see somebody's mail piling up on the doorstop or whatever. And then, who knows who really voted. What we saw in our investigation in Minneapolis is that operatives, according to this one person, operatives from the Ilhan Omar political machine went to the apartment building and were just knocking on doors saying, we requested ballots for you. Bring us the ballot. We're going to fill it out for you. After they signed all the paperwork, they were paid. And then the operatives told the voter, in effect, don't worry going to the polling place. It's all been done for you. And so we saw in 2016 that Hillary Clinton did not get the turnout that she expected in certain key constituencies. And so getting out the vote, that's really the highest art of the political consultant. Identify your vote and then get out your vote. That's really what it boils down to if you're running a campaign. Well, it seems so much easier if you just request someone's ballot. When you wait a few days, you show up at his house, you fill it out for him. Sometimes you pay him, sometimes you strong arm him. But basically, that's ballot harvesting as it exists in 2020.
Do you think some of these people approaching what seems like mostly a lot of maybe elderly people, or people that are like kind of older, maybe a little less with it, do you think they were approaching them, nicely, or all kind of maybe in a bullying type way?
We have people telling us that they were strong-armed. We also have a member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, which functions as Minnesota's sort of chapter of the National Democratic Party, where he acknowledges the corruption of ballot harvesting in the Somali American community. And he says, why am I going to speak up? I don't need to get jumped, right?
Wow.
Why, and you really have to give people credit who have stepped forward to sort of say, this is wrong. And this is a corrupting influence on our community. And it's really sad when you have, first generation immigrants, they're learning about democracy from the ballot harvesters. And, you gotta wonder, what are we thinking as a country when this is allowed to happen? We're told it didn't happen. And I'll tell you, Christy, the Project Veritas videos that resonate the most and the ones that really go viral are the ones where it's an issue, where everybody has a suspicion about what's going on. But we're told, no, don't be silly. You're paranoid. You're delusional. That never happens. And then Project Veritas goes undercover with a hidden camera, and we get them saying the private truth that is in stark contrast with the public lie.
Yeah.
And that's Those are the ones that click.
That really click, because we've done this podcast has done a couple of interviews with you guys over the last few months with Zach McElroy, who was the Facebook whistleblower, and same thing, that blew up because a lot of people were suspecting, like, hey, basically it came out that these Facebook content moderators were blatantly just and happily deleting the content of conservatives, Republicans, even sort of center-leaning people, that anything that was pro-Trump was getting deleted, was getting silenced. And also you did one with Zach Voorhees, who was the Google whistleblower, who basically came out and confirmed that Tulsi Gabbard was kind of getting fucked over by Google. They were, kind of limiting her. People would search her after the debate she did really well in, and people weren't able to search for her. They were kind of screwing with her Google account. So, and it's interesting. It's like people have sneaking suspicions, and like people aren't dumb. And I feel like the mainstream media likes to still think that we are. And then the Project Veritas videos that really blow up are the ones that confirm what a lot of us are already thinking.
Yeah, if I could go back to the Facebook, what Zach McElroy and Ryan Hartwick did is, they wore hidden cameras for months, and they took screenshots of actual Facebook policies, and they spoke to other content moderators. And Mark Zuckerberg, in 2 different hearings, both House and Senate, testified that Facebook does not edit content or censor content based on political speech. And in effect, what they did was they treated political speech on the right as hate, and hate speech on the left as political, and that was their dodge. But in their very policies, and we have screenshots of the policies, it was a direct contradiction to Zuckerberg's testimony before House and Senate committees, which is why Matt Gaetz of the House Judiciary Committee filed a criminal referral for perjury against Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook.
Wow. It's crazy. And now it seems, so as you guys were investigating the ballot frauds in Minneapolis, and then this guy's Snapchat came out, did the Snapchat video come out before or after the Project Veritas video?
It was during our investigation. I want to say it was the first week in July. I've seen between July 1st and 2nd, and then I've seen elsewhere where it was July 7th. So, I don't want to be held to an exact date, but basically in the beginning of July, it went down. And remember, the special election in Ward 6 for that city council seat that was open was August 11th. And that was also the primary for Minnesota 5, which was Ilhan Omar's primary. It was the statewide primary in Minnesota. So August 11th was the key date. Now, the left-wing groups, they went to court to suspend that limit of 3 ballots. And the court suspended enforcement of the 3 ballot limit, but did not overturn the law. And so, in effect, what they said was, you're at a risk. If you want to break the law, go ahead. Maybe it'll be overturned, maybe it won't. Wow. On September 4th, the Minnesota High Court ruled that the limit was actually valid, and that law stands. So all those people who maybe understood that the law was overturned is incorrect. And I've seen it in the media that it was overturned. Enforcement was suspended pending the court case, but in the end, the High Court decided that it was a valid limit of 3 ballots.
Wow. That's really interesting. And it seems like since, and I don't know if this has always been the case, but I'm noticing now since, the investigation into Minneapolis has come out from Project Veritas, it seems like you guys are being painted as a right-wing group after you're exposing this huge ballot harvesting scandal. The New York Times called it a coordinated disinformation campaign. This other news outlet was calling you guys, that you're doing journalism cosplay. And I've even seen somebody like link you guys. Oh, you guys are tight with the Proud Boys. What are your feelings on all that?
Well, what they could say is that what we're presenting on these videos is not true.
Yeah.
And so, that's usually the retort, is when someone has a report that exposes corruption and misconduct, that they say, well, that actually is not true. So these are not staged videos. These are not stage insiders. So when we had ABC reporter David Wright tell an undercover journalist that he is a socialist and that his bosses at ABC News refused to give President Trump an even break, ABC News suspended David Wright. Project Veritas didn't suspend David Wright. When Amy Robach was caught on a hot mic saying that her bosses at ABC News spiked stories about Jeffrey Epstein, ABC News put out a statement. Amy Robach put out an apology. Well, you don't put out an apology if it's not true. So, you know, there's also this thing about deceptive edits. Name one. You know, James O'Keefe has said he will pay somebody $10,000 if they can find a deceptive edit in Project Veritas. So go ahead, find one. It's repeated all the time, but it's, you know, it's like never true. I mean, there's always editing, you know.
Of course.
Channel 12 in Green Bay, Wisconsin edits, like CBS News edits, right? I mean,
right, especially for social media. It's insane. Everyone edits. Any proper news group is going to do editing. Even like social media influencers, like you have to do 2 minutes for Twitter. You have to do, you know, if it's more than a minute on Instagram, you got to sort it, you know, kind of format it differently. So it's interesting that these mainstream media outlets are not saying that this information is false, but they're instead just trying to paint Project Veritas as a less reliable news source.
can we stop tape for 1 minute, please?
Yeah, sure. Hold on. Pause. Okay, we're back. So it's interesting that these mainstream media news groups, instead of saying that the information you're presenting is wrong, they just respond by discrediting the whole organization of Project Veritas.
Yeah, and it's really, you know, it's really not journalism what they're doing to our journalism. You know, everyone says that there's no evidence of, they always say there's no evidence of widespread corruption in the ballot harvesting. Well, we show a guy who brags, he's rapping about how his car is full of ballots that are obviously not his. So that should, if someone cares about election integrity, they would be like, wow, that's a problem. Thank you, Project Veritas. Instead, that's when they unleash the attack pieces and calling us all sorts of things, but never addressing the issue of why this man is driving around Minneapolis with a car full of ballots that are not his.
Right. And you would think if they are claiming to be associated with Ilhan and her, you know, and her group, her people, you would think she would be among the first to come out and say, wow, we got to take a look at this. They would be the first to be on top of it and be like, hey, let's make sure we don't associate with these people, or these people are not. They would be the first one to look into it. But instead, it's easier to just say that you guys are doing journalism cosplay and that you're far right. And it's another interesting point, too, because it's like you look at Google, you look at Facebook, these social media companies that have been doing a ton of censorship. They are liberally owned, left-leaning. Of course, they're going to be censoring conservatives and Republicans. So it's like to call you guys right-leaning yourselves. It's like, well, look at where the corruption is. The corruption is very much on the far left, and you're just trying to provide balance, it seems, and point out, you know, what's wrong and what the people should know.
Or why is it that, you know, New Hampshire Public Radio or the New York Times can call us right wing when, you know, what we did in New Hampshire was we exposed how the Attorney General of New Hampshire had a case of a man who admitted double voting, once as himself, a 60-year-old man, and as a 30-year-old woman, a character he invented, right? And Helen Ashley. And so there was no birth certificate. It was not stolen identity for Helen Ashley. He invented Helen Ashley. He put on a wig, he put on a dress, and he voted as Helen. So he admitted it to a state trooper. The Attorney General of New Hampshire had the case. They sat on it for 8 months. When we started making inquiries, at first they said it's still under investigation. The next day, They arrested the guy. Nothing had changed. The only thing that changed is that Project Veritas knew about it. What is right wing about that? There's nothing right wing about writing a speeding ticket. If the sign says 55, it doesn't say 56. And so what is right wing about exposing a man who posts on Snapchat that he has a car full of ballots?
Exactly.
That just seems like a straightforward thing.
It seems that people who want democracy are labeled right-wing, just like people who have an American flag are labeled right-wing. People who want to support the police are labeled right-wing. It's like these things that shouldn't be partisan are now all of a sudden becoming partisan issues.
I think I have to break now, though.
Okay. All right. Neil, thank you so much for the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. It's great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Neil. Bye.